Dudes on stage, what do they know about being poor? They don't know your story. You live in a trailer park, is that right?
Yep.
Where?
Tucson, Arizona.
No, somebody is saying woo to a trailer park in Tucson? That's your neighbor?
Maybe so. If they stand up, I might recognize them.
And I can't say what you told me backstage, but I said, have you been rich all your life, Brad? He said, no, when I grew up, I didn't have fill in the blank. But your story was interesting because I didn't know this. I thought I knew everything about you. What'd you tell me about what happened when you were 20? And we're breaking up all kind of china here about what people presume they know about who they see. So what'd you tell me backstage?
I said that when I was in college, my parents my father had just started his own business, and they were really strapped. And one time I came home for the weekend, and I asked my mom for $5 for gas money, and she said, "I'm sorry, son, I just don't have $5.
So what'd you do? Figured it out?
I figured it out, and I prayed all the way back to school that I didn't run out of gas, is what I did.
So you weren't born, both of you, with silver spoons in your mouth.
Not at all.
And you have now, so how did you get the memo? How did you build these businesses, and why Prepaid? Does your story and the business you're in, does your story inform the business that you're in? Is there a reason you chose Prepaid versus something else? And by the way, how's Prepaid different from a credit card?
Well, I want to start by saying this. When I was in high school, I played a lot of soccer. Nobody in the United States played soccer at that time, so everybody that was on the soccer team were international students that had come over. So it gave me a different perspective on all the diversity and what diversity means. I learned to understand that everybody has different value systems and beliefs and all those kinds of things, and I think that's me putting myself in other people's shoes really was a part of how I got involved with Prepaid. Then I moved out of college and started working at a bank, and I noticed that people would come in the bank and we'd run these credit checks on something called telecheck, and they couldn't even open a checking account. And I thought, in Canada, everybody gets a checking account. Why can't everybody open a checking account here? There's got to be something wrong with this. And I started thinking about those people and their needs, and I came across this prepaid concept, and I saw it as a bridge to create opportunities so that everybody could have access to the same kind of financial services that all of us take for granted every day. And that's what really drove me to get involved with this. I didn't have a way to market prepaid or sell prepaid or anybody that I thought I could do that to, so I started partnering with really great companies that could do the marketing for us and participate with us in developing the programs and serving those accounts, and that's how we got involved with NetSpend. And
before we get to Kelly, your story, so you weren't always rich, I mean successful.
No.
So you built this company from nothing, an idea?
Yes, I started this at a bank that I was working at. Luckily, it was a small bank, and we had some flexibility there. The CEO asked me to start several businesses for that bank. I mean, at one point, I wanted to buy a house, and I didn't have enough money to buy a house. And I went and talked to the CEO of the bank, and he said, well, why don't we figure out a platform to do home loans in the bank, and you can figure that out, and yours can be the first one. So that's how I got started. We started a home loan division that we subsequently sold off. I started several other new ventures for that bank, and finally ended up with prepaid cards.
So by the way, the moral of that story is, if you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. Make sure you hang around some rich people who preferably own a bank so you can start your business idea. I'm only half kidding. Make sure that you meet people here even. I mean, I was talking to the awardee, the young lady who won the pitch award. She's like, I said, so what are you gonna do with this award? She said, I'm gonna put this aside, and the next 2 days I need to find a partner who's gonna develop this software for me, so when I leave here, I've got a partner to develop this complete software so I can have a product that's in market by the end of the year. She ain't playing. She's using this as a hunting ground, a fishing ground to develop her business. No different than you found this CEO and was all over him like a cheap suit. So, and you don't wear cheap suits. So how big is the business now?
Well, we've issued over 1 billion prepaid cards since I started doing this.
Did you say million?
No, B.
1 billion. 1 billion prepaid cards since you started this.
That's right.
From an idea. What about you, Kelly?
Well, it's not billions, but you want my story, you want to hear what we do.
Whichever way you decide?
I think it's best before you talk about what you do, you've got to know where you're coming from. And John alluded to my background. And I also, as part of my journey, we used to move about every year or 2 years. So when I grew up, I was at a different school, probably 7 different schools in an 8 or 10 year period. And I think that teaches resilience. I think it helps you understand diversity. I think it gives you confidence because you're starting over every year or almost every year. And I think it makes you take a broader view of what's important, which is the community and the broader society. And I think when we talk about our business, it starts with the mission, but that mission can only start if you believe in that bigger picture and that bigger society. And so for me, that's kind of how I got my start. Plus I had 2 parents that worked, a mother that worked in an era in which women didn't really work a lot, but she did. And I used that as a catalyst for what I wanted when I grew up, when I had children, when I had daughters. Those kind of examples I think are important. So it starts with the family, it starts with the community, and it starts with trying to make sure everyone has a chance to get a leg up, regardless of what that leg up means. And also for me, I just got back from the UK after 30 years. I went to the UK for a 6-month assignment and stayed there 30 years. And I think the European approach towards society, how companies look at what they need to contribute, and their role in the bigger society, I think is something I've brought back with me to the US to try to incorporate that into our business and how we try to walk in the shoes of our customers, how we look at the importance of that customer's family, and how we look at education and creating new opportunities. And we believe that starts sometimes with a small plastic that people can put funds on and actually live their everyday lives. Because 70 million people in America actually can't get credit, don't get access to credit, but they have funds that they need to put somewhere. And
70 million?
70 million. And a lot of those consumers don't feel comfortable with traditional banks. And so they're trying to find products, and products that Brad and I try to offer from a prepaid point of view to put funds on that card. And that is their checking account. It is their DDA account. It is how they live paycheck to paycheck and try to survive. And we're trying to make sure those individuals and those communities have equal access to what we see in the mainstream in terms of products, services, and capabilities. But for us, it starts with the mission, understanding our customer. We've been in business 20 years. We walk in the shoes of our customer every day. We talk to them every day. We hear their frustration. We hear mothers at the supermarket that can't spend money and they have kids yelling in the background because their funds got there late. And that's their only way they can pay for food for their kids that week. And so we need to understand that for us to build the right kind of products and services. We're not in the billions. We send out probably 50 or 60 million plastics a year for people who sometimes use the card once for a tax refund or for certain type transactions. But we've got about 5 million customers.
Did you say 50 or 60 million cards a year?
Yeah.
That's still very good.
It's pretty good numbers.
You're in good bed.
But at the end of the day, you know, it's our job to take care of our core customers, which is about 5 million consumers that use a prepaid card as their primary checking account or DDA account or bank relationship.
What's a DDA account?
Demand deposit account. So apologies for the terminology, but it's something that a lot of our consumers aspire to. Prepaid is sometimes viewed as a dirty word or only for bad people that are doing things illegally. That is the farthest reality and far from the truth. It's actually people that get paid in cash or get benefits or work multiple jobs that are trying to find ways to have their money secure, but they get access to financial services across this great country, and we're trying to help those individuals.
And it's safe, it's secure. You're the bank of yourself. You're managing your own,
Exactly.
your own assets.
That's right, and for them, it might be through our brand or some other brands. Banks today are actually obsessed with closing down branches and making everything digital. We actually view it the other way around. We're trying to expand distribution. We've got 120,000 locations you can get our prepaid product, and 130 locations that you can load money onto those products for everyday use. And if you add up the top 5,000 banks across America, we have more distribution than all those banks combined, because we believe we need to be in the neighborhoods and be there for individuals where they work, where they shop, and where they live. And so for us, we think we need to go to our consumers and not just expect them to be digitally literate or actually conduct business digitally. So we're going to keep expanding our distribution and try to provide access in the locations our consumers go, and actually with the brands they want to use.
I think, if I could,
Yeah.
it's really important to understand, though, that this is a collaboration between NetSpend and the bank. The bank holds all this money in accounts for these people. The bank treats this money just like it would any other deposit account that the bank has. It protects it with Reg E protections and
FDIC insurance.
FDIC insurance. The regulators look at this as a bank account, and these have become mainstream banking products at this point.
Yeah.
And Brad has his regulators, we have ours, the CFPB, that is really pushing savings, pushing transparency, pushing openness for consumers that they think historically have been taken advantage of. So from our vantage point, we embrace the regulation because we want to make sure people feel safe and secure and understand the products and services they're getting. So we don't view regulation as bad. Sometimes we complain because it's costly, but at the same time, it's there for a purpose and it's there to protect the consumer.
So we ran out of time a while ago, but this was a fascinating conversation. Hopefully you guys appreciated it.
Thank you.
I want to humanize these guys and what they're doing, is otherwise you see their card that says CEO, you go, well, there's no way I can do that. Final question. 25 years ago, I don't know the answer to this question, I'm guessing that I'm right on this. 25 years ago, neither of your businesses existed.
Right.
That's correct.
Now I just guessed that. Why is this important? 50 million cards, 60 million cards being issued every year from him. $1 billion, a billion transactions, billion cards issued from him. Both are creating platforms to do good, employing people, creating wealth for themselves and for others, helping people, serving people, up from nothing, up from struggling to the privileged class in a generation. But 25 years ago, the business and the industry really didn't exist. Poof, overnight. Twitter didn't exist, Instagram didn't exist, all this stuff is new. Don't ever count yourself out or think you can't do something. You have the craziest idea on the planet. You have got to be crazy enough to believe you can change the world, or you never will. So we're closing out here. Anita told me, not part of the program, she told me that you're doing scholarships in Austin for underprivileged children.
Yep. Across America, actually.
Across America.
Yep.
My guess is you're doing that in part because of what you remember about you being in a trailer park.
Absolutely.
You want to talk very quickly about that? And I'm going to embarrass my man here in a second.
Yep. A couple things we do. Number one, we're really involved in the community everywhere we have offices. But most important of all, we have a framework called Community Connect, where we go out and actually walk in the shoes of our customers, pay for people's gas, their food, pay their bills, et cetera. But as part of that, too, through some of our partnerships and things we do, we raise scholarship funds in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then we have our customers from across America apply for a scholarship. And it's usually that last mile scholarship. They're one degree, one course away, or one step away from a vocational degree, or a beautician degree or certificate, or something that will change their hourly wage or daily wage, and definitely changes their aspiration and their self-worth. And those are the people we're focusing on that need that last mile push to get them the education they deserve to have a better life for themselves and their families. And that's something we're doing a lot more across the U.S., raising more money, because we think it's important not only for the consumers that we're trying to service and their families, but for a lot of those young kids you just saw who actually will need help at some stage with their ideas to turn them into commercial reality to support broader society, and that's our focus.
Now, thank you, Kelly. Brad is a bit of a quiet storm. He's very humble and understated. A lot of celebrity cards that you see are powered by him. So the celebrity puts their name on it, but he's actually the company behind it that's actually doing the work. Very understated, stays in the background. But I've seen you do incredible things twice. Now, about 2 hours ago, he doesn't know I want to say this, 2 hours ago, we were having a private meeting, and a Fortune 50 CEO stood up and said, I'm going to commit $250,000 to Operation Hope for like an endowment for Operation Hope. Before the guy can get it out of his mouth, Brad Hansen, self-made, up from nothing, can do it because he wants to. He says, I'll match you. Now, we love government grants. Operation Hope applies for them all the time. I can't tell you how long it would have taken me to get a $250,000 government grant. City, state, federal, international, or foundation grant. By the way, we can do all that. But when you make it yourself, you can decide where it goes and where you, and by the way, no fanfare, no press release. No one would know it unless I said it. Please take a moment and say thank you to Brad Hansen.